working on prepping the roof skin here prior to installation. There's just a few little things that I've got to take care of before this is ready to put into place for final welding. One of the things that you'll have to do, at least on an AMD roof skin, is you're going to want to trim the drip rail channels on both sides. They come with a little bit extra material on both sides, and you won't be able to get this roof skin to fit down into the drip rail channels and fit snug on the roof unless you clean these up. So what I've found that actually works out pretty good is, at least for my drip rails here, I put brand new drip rails on. I need about a 5/16 of an inch flange to sit down in the drip rail. So I've already marked it out with a marker. But one of the things that you can do is, if you just find a box wrench laying around the shop, depending on the thickness of it, I'll just set that right up along the edge of the roof skin, and then I'll put my marker up against the wrench, and then I'll just drag it along the edge here, just like so, obviously with the marker up there, and I will just scribe a line right down this channel. And it turns out that the combination of the box wrench along with a little bit of the body of the Sharpie, when you hold it up against there, puts a mark about 5/16 of an inch out from the center, or the inside edge of the roof skin. So it should fit down in there real nice. And I'm going to come through here. There's a couple of ways that you could do this. You could use some tin snips. That's an awful long ways to use tin snips. You could use a plasma cutter if you wanted. I think I'm just going to get my cutoff wheel and follow right up along that line. And what I'll do is I'll probably split the line or leave a little bit of the line present, and then I'll just come back in and grind a little bit off here and there for a final tuning. So the next thing that I'll do after I get that set down in there is I'll check it for fitment, just to make sure that it fits well in the front and in the rear, and that it comes down over the quarters here real nice. You want that to just sit down in place. You don't want it to be tight or have to force it down on there. That roof skin should fit right down where it needs to go, and then come right into this cell panel area here, nice and loose. It shouldn't have any hammering or pushing or pulling or prying to get it into place. So make sure that it fits down on there nice and easy. And then what I'll do is, I've already measured this roof. It's about 4.5 by 4.5 feet on the underside. And then I'm going to actually put some sound insulation, some dampener up in the top side of the roof. And maybe I'll add that to the video as we get going here. But right now I just wanted to show what's up with getting these drip rail channels trimmed up. Again, they're quite a bit wider than they need to be. And then obviously you've got this little flange here that you've got to take off, cut off in the process as well. So should be a pretty easy job, and hopefully it'll sit down in the spot where it needs to be. Since I'm replacing the roof skin on the 67 Chevelle, one of the things that I'm going to have to do is install the windshield trim clip studs. This roof skin from AMD did not come with the studs already installed. Not a big deal. There's a number of different ways that you can do this. One of the things that you can do is that you can simply just screw the trim clip to the window channel if you want. And then a couple of other ways is, one of the things that you can do is you can use pop rivets that are designed to have the same profile as the studs. They also have screws now that basically are just the stud itself with a Phillips head in it, and you could screw those in place. But what I'm going to do, since I do have a unispot welder here, is I'm going to just use these studs that I got from Belt and Speed, and I'm going to use them instead of the pop rivets or the screw-in type studs. All right, well today I'm just working on a little bit of panel prep here on this roof skin. I've been working on trying to get all of the quarters and the tail pan and all of the rear section panels prepped and ready to be final fitted and welded into place. So the last thing that I've got to do here is just finish up on the roof skin. This is a replacement roof skin from AMD, and you know, as most people know, they come with EP coating. Some of the panels these days are coming with weld-through primer. So what I like to do here is I just scuff the EP coating and then shoot a couple of coats of epoxy on there. I probably do a little bit more than scuff. I probably get it about 50-50 bare metal and still leave a little bit of the EP coating on there. Some guys like to remove all of it. I tend to leave a little bit of it if it's a good quality EP coating. So anyway, I've got a couple of coats of epoxy on here, and you can see it's scuffed. And then the other thing that I've done is I've gone around all of my edges that are going to be welded. So these are basically the pinch channel here, the pinch welded area here in the front windshield, and then the pinch welded area here at the rear window. And then of course you can see the quarter cells where they'll be welded into place. And then I've also prepped the drip rail channel. So this is where the roof skin will fit down into the drip rail. So after I get the panel prepped and epoxied, I go back and I strip all of the welded areas down to bare metal, and then I coat everything with a self-etching weld-through primer, just the way that I like to do it. Hey everybody, I'm back working on the 67 Chevelle tonight. Yesterday I got the quarters all plug welded in place. Still got just a little bit of work to do on those. I want to go around and clean up all my plug welds, and then I'm also going to hit it with my spot welder just in a bunch of places to basically give it that factory look. It'll also provide some structural support as well, but decided today to go ahead and tackle the roof skin and get it welded into place. So I've got it sitting up here where it needs to be. A few things when you're working on these, just make sure that you have good fitment. It's going to be in all your corners here. So the corner here where the windshield sits and the window trim goes in, make sure that you've got a good fitment there. Same thing on the passenger side over here. You just want to make sure that you've got good fitment in this area. And then I always kind of take a look here at the pinch weld in the window channel to see how it lines up to the bracing underneath, because it's going to get welded together. And what I noticed with this is, as you can see here, there's just a little bit overlap. The new channel is possibly a little bit wider than the original flange. I could maybe push this roof skin back a little bit, but then that gets me out of alignment in the back. So I'm just going to deal with this. I'll probably take a welding spoon, stick it up behind there so that I don't blow through in that area, get it all welded up, and then I'll come in and supplement with some spot welds with my spot welder. So not too worried about that. The other thing too is if you're putting in a new roof skin, I may have covered this already, but you'll probably have to trim this edge on both sides or it won't fit down in there. Again, I think I covered that in another video when I was doing some prep. So just looking at the way that it fits down in the drip rail, it fits the way that I want it to. And then we're talking about the corners here, making sure that you've got a good alignment in each of the window corners here. So I've already clamped this in place, and I've tested my molding to make sure that it fits respectable. So just got it kind of clamped across here. I'll use some different clamps when I actually do some welding, but this will definitely hold it in place. And then just up in here in the cell, you can see I've already got it punched and ready for welding up in the cell panel area. Now I'll take my time on this. I will make sure not to just go all the way across here. Now that we're getting to a point where we're getting into these panels where they could possibly warp, you just want to be careful. So I'll probably come in and hit it here, and then maybe midway, and then at the other end, go to the other side and do that. And I'll just kind of keep working my way back and forth. The other thing that I'll eventually do is I'm going to spot weld in this drip channel here. I've just got to get a little bit different electrode arms for my spot welder, because what I have is a little bit too wide to get in there. So I'll try to go ahead and spot weld up into this drip rail area here. So should fit together just fine. One of the things that I did notice on one side is this quarter cell over here is wanting to pucker on me just a little bit. And you can see as once I get it all clamped up in here, I've got a little bit of flex here. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. It pushes back in without any resistance. So it's not like I'm going to be forcing it to sit flush. So what I'll do is I'll just take this small crowbar that I have, and I'll just use a pointed end. But while I'm welding it, I'll just push it in like that. Make sure that I get it pushed in there. And then we'll get it all welded up and come back and clean the welds up, get them flush and respectable. And then I think I'm going to finish everything out with actually lead. I'm going to go old school lead. Something else I may do after I get everything plug welded is I may actually come along the bottom of the flange here, kind of in this area, and I may go ahead and hit it with a few tacks, just to keep it there. It's not going to go anywhere, but mainly just to keep that edge from moving around on me if it has an opportunity to flex a little bit. So anyway, that's what we've got going on. Maybe I'll come back and show you what it looks like when it's all said and done. But going to get this roof skin put in tonight. All right, so I'm just finishing up the roof skin install on the 67 Chevelle today, and I've got the roof skin almost completely welded in now. I just have to come in here and spot weld the drip channel on both sides, so that's what I'm going to be working on next, just finishing up everything by spot welding this roof skin in place. I've already got it welded in here at the quarter seam. I also have it welded in the rear window channel here and then on the front window channel. So what I like to do on these is I do like to use a combination of spot welds and plug welds. And I've already ground and metal finished the plug welds that I put in here. But in all, I probably had 7 or 8 plug welds across this pinch weld here in the window channel. And so then I went ahead and metal finished it out. And then I came in, and I think you can see here, I came in with my spot welder, and then I spot welded every 1.5 to 2 inches all the way across the channel. So I just like to use a combination of plug welds and spot welds. Could you do all spot welds? Probably, depending on the quality of your spot welder. That's always going to be something that you've got to take into consideration. If you've got a cheap spot welder that doesn't give you a good bond, then I certainly wouldn't rely just on the spot welds. But you could also just plug weld the whole thing across. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not going to be seen if you metal finish it. By the time you get your glass in here, you're not going to see any of this pinch weld here. But for me, I just like to use a combination. I use the plug welds to really give me this kind of warm, fuzzy feeling, a little bit of confidence that I've got that skin truly welded in place. And then I come in and finish everything out with some additional spot welds. Primarily because they're just carefree. You spot weld it and you're done. There's not any metal work that needs to be done. You don't have to grind welds down and metal finish anything. So it makes it a lot easier. So I did the same thing on the rear as also. I just came in here and put some plug welds first all the way across the back window channel here. Metal finished those and then spot welded, wrapped up with spot welding. And then in the quarter cell, everybody's got a little bit different way of dealing with this. I actually put about 15 to 16 plug welds all the way down through this area here, and what I basically did is I plug welded the roof skin to the quarter. And then after that, what you have is you'll have a lap in here from the roof skin laying on top of the quarter, and I came in and welded that entire seam shut. So it's just the way that I like to go about it. The factory did not. They just left that seam showing. They put a few tack welds kind of, at the start, in the middle, and then at the end of the lap. But I went ahead and welded it shut. One of the things I just was going to show you real quick is that this drip rail channel is pretty tight in here, and I want to spot weld it. So what I've done is I've actually custom made a couple of tips for my spot welder. And so as we can see here, this is the one I'm going to use in the drip rail channel. And I just took some copper chromium zirconium round stock that I had, and I've just simply have made these by hand. Essentially, I just used my sander here and sanded them gradually. If I had access to a metal lathe, I would have just turned them on a lathe and they would have looked a little bit more professional. But they'll work for me. And then I made another one here, a little bit larger diameter. It's about a quarter of an inch or so. And that one's going to be able to fit right down in this area here. But this is the smaller tip, the finer tip, about 1/8 of an inch tip on here. And once I get it into my spot welder, I'll be able to get it right down in that area there. We'll just go right in here and I'll be able to spot weld all the way down this drip rail, and it should turn out just fine. So that's pretty much it for the roof skin. Maybe I'll come back with a quick update and show you how the spot welding turned out. I just finished up putting the spot welds into the drip rail channel on the roof skin. It turned out pretty darn good, actually. I'm pretty happy with the way that it turned out. So just a quick video here of all the spot welds that I ran down the edge of the drip rail channel. And I just did this on both sides, finished it out real nice. Came all the way down the sail panel area here. You can see where the quarter and the roof meet. And just continued all the way down, is about as far as I could get. Actually, on this side, I was actually to get almost all the way to the end of the drip rail channel here in the quarter. Depending on your spot welder and the size of tong that you have on the bottom side, you may have a little bit of trouble getting in here, but I was able to get mine in there the way that I needed to get it in there. So it turned out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. I did, when I first got started, I realized that because I had machined down my electrode to basically, oh gosh, probably 1/8 of an inch in diameter so that it would fit down in this channel, what I noticed is that smaller electrode on the spot welder heated up a lot faster, and it actually, as you can see, there's a little bit of that copper looking material in there. It actually started to melt just a little bit. Here's another one here. That was actually the first one that I did. So it actually started to melt the electrode just because of that small diameter. So what I found to work for me is I actually turned down my spot welder, and I basically set it up so that I set it up so that I was using thinner sheet metal, and then I also set it up. Mine, I can do a setting for how long it will actually apply current, and so I was able to shorten the time that it applied current to create the spot weld, and that seemed to make a huge difference. And the spot welds are good. They're good and they're integral. I actually tried it on a couple of scrap pieces to make sure that I couldn't tear them apart, using kind of that tuna can, sardine can method. So, but yeah, I started to melt it here. I just got it too hot, and that lip here on the roof skin, it's actually pretty thin. I don't know why it's thin like that. Maybe I scuffed it and sanded it a little bit too aggressively, but anyway, it turned out real good. I was able to get all the way up into the front here. I couldn't get to this tip here because of the A-pillar being in the way, but this window, or this drip rail, is not going to move. So anyway, so what I'll do here is I'll just go down and clean this up a little bit. There's a little bit of slag here and there from the spot welder. I'll get it all cleaned up, get it sanded. I'll hit it with some epoxy. And then when I'm about done with the body work, about on the last coat of urethane primer, I will scuff it up real good, and then I will put a self-leveling seam sealer up into this channel, and then it'll be ready to seal and paint. But you know, we're a long ways from being ready for paint on this car. So anyway, that's the way that it went. Got the roof skin on, and we're all set here on the 67 Chevelle. And we're going to move on to some other things here to get some other body work done.